I've worked on the routes from Aberdeen to Orkney and Shetland since 1996 and represent the RMT seafarers for Orkney ferries, Shetland Island ferries and my shipmates on Northlink ferries, and I also work on our national executive. The impact of this motion will mostly be on the communities these vessels serve and the seafarers earning a living on those vessels, most of whom call the islands home. Now, the thing is that as time passes, as has been mentioned by the mover, we have a situation where we don't want to repeat what's happening in the Western Isles. So let's make sure that we hold the government to its promises and that it looks at these things in a realistic manner. And, you know, Nautilus' motion is absolutely on the money, and my members work on the 3 large ferries in Orkney, El Sigurd, El Thorfinn and Varrigan. And as time passes, there's more money spent on these vessels just to keep them running, more time spent in dry dock, which is a huge impact on the amount of timetabling that can be done. And the budget has been cut by 13%, so by this year's Scottish transport budget. And this ties in with the almost impossible task of using a 11 million grant from the UK Government's Clean Maritime competition to assist in the development of an electric ferry that could provide inter-island service and the delivery of which is imminent. RMT policies for the Orkney Ferries contract to be absorbed into the Northern Isles Ferry Services contract held by Transport Scotland, with Orkney Islands Council retaining responsibility for timetabling and the day-to-day operation. You can see some of the advantages of economy of scale here as well when we come to procurement and so on. So it's something that should be realistically considered and expand the network and bring it under one umbrella. So let's not forget what's happened in the Western Isles, and let's make sure that we don't make the same mistakes again in the Northern Isles. So I'm happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. I now call on any supporting or opposing speakers in the debate. Thank you, Delegate.
Good afternoon, Congress. Fiona McKellar, Chartered Society of Physiotherapy. Congress, you might be wondering why a physiotherapist has come into the podium to speak in support of a motion to do with ferries. Well, I live in Orkney. I wanted to support this motion on behalf of our communities and with in particular reference to our patients living in the Outer Isles. So for a bit of context, as part of the Scottish Government's GIRFI initiative, Getting It Right for Everyone, which its proposal for a multi-agency approach of support and services from young adulthood to the end-of-life care in Scotland. Locally, we listened to patient stories and reflections from NHS staff, and these were just some of the stories we heard. Not all North Isles have a wheelchair-accessible vehicle. For a full-time wheelchair user to travel to an outpatient appointment, it can be a 1 hour, 40-minute journey each way. It's necessary to wheel onto the car deck and stay in a small space at deck level in all weathers, cold and no access to a toilet. Essentially, if you've got any type of disability, you can't reach passenger accommodation in any North Isles boats as it's all accessed by steep staircases. You can't use a loo. As this motion states, our ferries are lifeline services for our very remote North Isles communities, and the deteriorating state of the fleet is impacting on the well-being of our islands' populations. Please support. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any further speakers? If there are no further speakers in the debate, please note that the General Council recommends support. I'll now take you to the vote. Can I see all those in favour? Please show. Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Vessel replacement on Orkney and Shetland ferry routes is carried. Congress, Due to your discipline or my stern chairing, we are ahead of time. So I intend to take 2 other motions from tomorrow's business. So you're not getting away early. You will get away slightly early, but not quite yet. So I will now call motion 36, Value in Music Education. And can I invite the Musicians Union to move the motion? Thank you.
President, Congress, Ronnie McNiven, Musicians Union, first time delegate, first time speaker. I am proud to move this vital motion on the value of music education and the protection of those musicians and teachers who deliver it, both inside and outside our schools. Music education is not an optional extra. It is not a luxury. It is fundamental to a well-rounded, inclusive education system. Research consistently shows that access to high-quality music education boosts learning across all subjects, improves mental health and well-being, and builds the confidence and creativity of our young people. It should be a universal right, not a postcode lottery, and not something that depends on the ability to pay. Yet, Congress, when local authority budgets come under pressure, it is too often music services that are first on the chopping block. Highly qualified, experienced musicians, many of them portfolio workers balancing teaching, performing, and composing, find themselves facing unemployment or seeing their already modest pay fall even further behind inflation. We have seen this erosion of value clearly. Over the last 20 years, funding for the Youth Music Initiative, a vital lifeline for music education in Scotland, has fallen from £10 million to £9 million. Over the same period, the Musicians Union's recommended freelance teaching rate has doubled. What does this mean? It means less music in our schools. It means fewer young people getting the chance to discover their talents. And it means the loss of a vital source of regular, fairly paid work for freelance musicians who underpin Scotland's rich cultural ecology. Music education is not just about nurturing the next generation of musicians, although that is important too. It is about building the skills that all young people need: discipline, creativity, collaboration, perseverance. Every child in Scotland should have access to high-quality musical opportunities, no matter where they live. No child's chance to pick up an instrument, to sing, to create, should depend on their parents' bank balance or the council area they happen to grow up in. That is why today, Congress, we call on the STUC to act. We urge you to lobby the Scottish Government to properly fund music education, ensuring that funding through both government and councils rises at least in line with inflation. We call on you to fight to restore the Youth Music Initiative funding to its real terms 2003 level, to safeguard and expand the opportunities it provides. We ask you to recognise and address the particular challenges in rural areas where travel costs for itinerant teachers are higher, and without action, children risk being cut off from participation. And finally, we ask you to stand with the Musicians Union when cuts to music services threaten livelihoods and undermine the value of music education. Congress, we know that when we invest in music education, we invest in creativity, in opportunity, in equity, and in Scotland's future. Let's send a clear message: music matters, musicians matter, and a fairer future demands action now. I urge Congress to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Can I now call on EIS to second the motion? Thanks, Susan.
President, colleagues, Susan Quinn from the EIS, and tempted to launch into song because this venue lends itself so beautifully to it. And we want to see and we want to know that this venue will continue to be filled in the future, and those across the country will continue to be filled in the future by great musicians from this land and who come from all walks of life within our society and from across our schools. And as our colleague just previously said, it isn't though just about that. It isn't just about filling these venues so that we can come and have a good old rare tear. It's about the value of education and the value of music within it. Education's not just about feeding the brain. And music feeds the heart and the soul, and it opens up the doors for our young people across this country and gives them great opportunities. I spoke last year on a very similar motion to this and spoke about the fabulous work that organisations like Scottish Opera do to support our schools. But our schools have to pay for these. And they have to pay and support these organisations to do so. And budget cuts across the country have meant that that has become more and more difficult. And we need to make sure that we can afford to provide quality music education. This motion sits beautifully alongside the EIS Stand Up for Quality Music Education campaign, and I call on you all to go to our website during this conference and complete the petition around quality music education alongside those of our colleagues from the Musicians Union. But do you know what? Yous are needing to be magicians at this point in time because you're being asked to produce something from nothing. So well done to you for being all things around that. Budget cuts across public sectors are having a detrimental effect on the quality of education that our young people can get, and music education cannot be lost within all of those cuts. Please support this motion, colleagues. Support music education. Support our young people in having these fabulous opportunities.
Well done, Delegate, and my humble apologies to the musicians and to the magicians in the room. Colleagues, I now call on any supporting or opposing speakers in this debate. Thank you.
Hello, Congress. Kirsty Miller, Equity. In this true spirit of improvisation, seeing as you brought this motion forward and we hadn't really thought about it, I just want to wholeheartedly support this motion. Music should be for everybody. And for music, read all arts. Arts are always the ones that get cut first because apparently they're not that important. Yet we all consume art all the time. Where are the future musicians going to come from if they haven't been given the chance to pick up a guitar or a violin or, God forbid, a recorder? I grew up in a world where you only got to do music if you were shown to be any good at it, so I didn't get to do it because I wasn't any good at it, so that makes no sense. This world should be full of music. I honestly ask you to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Conference. Jo Cameron-Brown from Equity. I support this motion wholeheartedly. Like Kirsty, was going to try and write something tonight for tomorrow, but here I didn't. But what I'd like to say is, it is no accident that the major fund-paying schools that are governing, the peoples of which ex-peoples are governing our life, hold the arts and music education to be tip-top. You can go to any of the major public schools and demand that you learn the bassoon, the whatever, it will be provided. These schools have two hugely technically operating theatres that most reps in this country would give their eye teeth to have. They know the value of it, they know the profound need for it, and they know how that helps you navigate the world, how it lets you understand the world through art and through music. Please support the motion, it's terrific.
Thank you, colleague. Colleagues, that was motion 36, valuing music education. Please note that the General Council recommendation is to support. I now take you to the vote. Can I see all those in favour, please show. Thank you. Any against? Would anybody dare? Any abstentions? Thank you. Motion 36, value in music education, is carried. I now call on motion 38, education is a community worth fighting for. I invite North Lanarkshire's Trade Union Council to move the motion. Thank you.
President, Congress, Sean McNamara and North Lanarkshire Trades Council. I think it's really important that we've managed to follow this after the Musicians Union because the two are so heavily intertwined. But I'd like to start by focusing on a specific symptom of cuts to the wider education community: dysregulated behaviour and violence at work. Research by the IS has found violence in schools is on the rise. Teachers reported being pushed, shoved, struck, kicked, punched, bitten and spat on, along with experiencing threats, swearing, mockery and sexist behaviour. Is this experience in our schools limited to teachers? Of course it isn't. Additional support needs assistants, office staff, cleaners, kitchen staff, janitors, school transport drivers and more face the same. Who's less likely to face this in our schools now? Attendance officers, home partnership officers, librarians, counsellors. Comrades, don't be under the illusion that this is because the situation is getting better, but because these roles are being cut. Roles that provide a pivotal function in addressing the challenges faced in education and by our young people. Home support officers provide a crucial link between school and home. They support our most vulnerable children and are a lifeline to many young people. I have first experience as a classroom teacher of the transformational change they have had on the young people they serve. The colleague who performs this role in my school has just had her job cut in the last month, along with others in the council. It's hard to comprehend the impact this will have. Someone with a cold, bleak, and wrong worldview once said, "There's no such thing as society." Sadly, this seems to be becoming a reality in education, as the community needed to raise our children is successively degraded. But comrades, have faith. I can see the society needed in front of me now. Together, we represent the education workforce. We need to pull together to fight for our young people and the service we provide. We need to build a campaign that highlights the crucial work every member of our school communities provide, from the additional support needs assistants to the bus drivers to the home support officers. I implore you to support this motion to build together the education service our young people and our society deserves, that is diverse, consistent, wide-reaching and aspirational. Because comrades, united we stand, divided we fall, and we cannot fall. Solidarity in the education workforce.
Thank you, Delegate. I now call on the EIS to second the motion. I'll take you, Ben, MU.
Sorry for the confusion. I thought I was sporting, but I'm very happy to second. President Congress, Neil Anderson, EIS. Education is a community with different sectors and functions that work in combination to equip young people with skills, knowledge and critical thinking for their journey in life. We in EIS Glasgow, where we're from, are still in dispute with the City Council on restoring teacher numbers. And at the same time, sister trade unions have been fighting against cuts for funding for initiatives such as developing the young workforce and MCR pathways. These programmes help to create fully rounded young people leaving school for employment or further and higher education. Within the still existing trade union laws, we have only been able to give speakers at each other's meetings or demonstrations. There is an old adage that it takes a village to raise a child. The education community is that village. We need to be able to fight for that community as a whole and not individual sectors working away on their own, but show that we're all working together for our young people, for their future as individuals, but also, therefore, for future society as a whole. Congress, I urge you to support the motion.
Thank you. Delegate, I now call on any supporting or opposing speakers. Thank you, Ben.
Ben Lunn from the Musicians Union, and very, very proud to be supporting this particular motion. I think it's also particularly important and of note that this motion has come from a trades council. Our trades councils know the importance of the trade union movement within the community, as they are the body that does so. So it is an immaculate thing that it has come from our trades council, and I'm very proud to see that this has come from them. For musicians and our members, with this particular aspect in mind, there are sort of two particular aspects I want to draw upon. Firstly, for many musicians who are teachers, they are peripatetic teachers, which means they will often just go into a school, do the allocated teaching, and go home, or go on to another school, or however many other places that they teach. What this means is, firstly, they are often not treated as core members of the teaching staff because they are not fully a part of the furniture. This means when we are in situations where it is becoming increasingly dangerous for teachers in schools, peripatetic teachers are even more at risk because being reprimanded for attacking a person who is not a proper teacher becomes more of a problem. So we are really vital that we need to remember this community aspect. But alongside that, because this extends into the community, for many of our members, many of them are involved in community ensembles, community choirs, and so on. And the problems we see in schools, as has been wonderfully described by our comrade from the North Lanarkshire Trades Council, it extends into the community across the board. So these problems will be occurring in these community music groups, where what they're supposed to be is a chance for people to socialise, make music safely, enjoy the company, socialise, and go back home having had a wonderful time. But it's becoming increasingly difficult because of the further impact of the austerity we have seen, the degradation of our services, and so on. And ultimately, one of the ways to fix that is to fix our schools, to support our teachers, because at the end of the day, our schools are central to our society. They are central to our communities, and so everything we can do to help our teachers helps our society for many years to come. So support the teachers, support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Are there any other speakers in the debate? No, thank you. That was motion 38. Education is a community worth fighting for. Please note that the General Council recommends support. I'll now take you to the vote. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Motion 38, education is a community worth fighting for, is carried. Congress. We are now at the end of today's business. Thank you all very much for your contribution in the debate. I have a couple of announcements, if you could bear with me. There are a number of fringe events taking place this evening. Please refer to page 11 of the Congress programme for full details. The education unions are hosting a joint social this evening at Discovery Point at 6 p.m, and all delegates are warmly invited to attend. Congress, as many of you are aware, Comrades in Equity are currently campaigning to save Scotland's only recurring drama, River City, following BBC Scotland's decision to cancel it. Equity members are holding a rally outside in City Square now, and you are encouraged to show your support and join them in their fight for jobs. I would ask all delegates to be back in the hall at 9 a.m. prompt tomorrow, where we will begin the morning session with an address from the leader of the Scottish Labour Party, before moving to section 5 of the agenda, education and lifelong learning. And a reminder for those submitting bodies who submitted motions, amendments on Palestine, please meet tomorrow at 9:20 in dressing room 5. Congress, thank you very much, colleagues, for your contribution. I'm going to close Congress. Have a great evening. Thank you.